Hello fellow grease monkeys, and welcome back to another video. In this video I'm going to be covering over an update I did to the Toon Shader I previously created. Alright, so here we are. This is the Toon Shader. If you haven't used it before, it's free. Link is in the description. It's on my Gumroad, and I'll also put a link down there where I go over how to use this Toon Shader. But in this video, I'm going to be going over an update I did to it. So with the previous Toon Shader, and here it is, you'll see that it has all the options, yada yada yada. But this Toon Shader is affected by lights, right? And which is very good, you know. I like to use it. You can move around the lights. Let me move around here. You can see that I can move this light, which then affects the highlights and all the colors on the Toon Shader. But I actually made an update to it where I have a second Toon Shader that's not affected by lights. You can see if I turn off the lights here, boom. There's no highlights, there's no anything. But if you have like a scene and you don't want to fiddle with lights, this Toon Shader is for you. So once you download the Toon Shader, you have to put the material into your scene. So you can do that by going to File, Append, locate the material, click on it, go to Materials, and then there's two Toon Shaders. This is the one that's affected by lights. It's just called GM Toon Shader. And then there's the one that's is not affected by lights, which is GM Toon Shader Solo. So that's what we're going to do. You hit Append. I already have it here in my asset browser. So let's see some things that we can do here. Let's turn on. Let's start changing some of these pieces here. So let me solo a couple of these things here. Let's solo this, and the boosters. So there we go. So once you have it in here, you can just go into the material, click on it, and then select the material on your list here. I'm going to drag it in from my asset browser. So let's just drag that in. All right. You'll see that it pops in. So now we have a somewhat familiar Toon Shader. So this is basically all the same. With some added features at the end, the ambient occlusion. But let's start out from the left side. So the first thing we want to see is I have an option for 2 lights. So that's what light 1 here and light 2 is, right? And if you can see here, light 1 and the light intensity is at 5. So that is the middle point because it goes up to 10, and I have the light 2 at 0, so it's not activated right now. But if you see on light 1, if I click on this like orb here, I can actually rotate where the ball goes. It was loading the shader right there, but you can see once it's loaded, you can actually rotate where the light's coming from without using lights at all. So boom. So let's say we want to highlight on the right side here. So a trick here for this little ball, this normal map, it's what it's called, or it's a normal node. You can hold Control, and that's gonna lock the ball, the light, into different locations. So here's the front, left, right. So if you hold Control, and I'm gonna move it all the way to the right, you see that now the light's on the right. So now you can see on the left side the light, it's dark on that side, which is good. So what you could do is you can either increase the intensity so it can reach to that other side, or change the second and first color size. So you can see that here's the second color, here's the first color. We can extend the light and stuff. There we go. But what we want is a highlight on the other side. So then what we can do is we can activate the second light. To do that, you go to light 2 intensity and put in 5. And then since this is on the right side here, we'll hold Control and put this on the left side. There it is. And now we have it on both sides. And then once we these settings affect both lights at the same time. So if I increase the highlight, you can see it increases the first light here, it encompasses it, and there we go. Now we have this pretty much Toon shaded up. Another option I added was this texture. So there's only 2 options you have to worry about, which is noise scale and image mix. So what noise scale does, it just kind of makes it grainy, kind of like a dithering. So there it is. See, there it goes. It smooths out the harsh transitions between the Toon Shader. And sometimes you may not want that, sometimes you may, so that's why the option is here. So there it is, nice and smooth. But we'll take it off. And then the second option is to mix in a texture. Right now I have a brick texture on here. So if we just turn the mix texture up, you can see at the bottom it says that it's loading the texture. I'll mix it all the way up. you could see that it looks a little weird, but it's what it's essentially doing is mixing in this texture here, this texture, and mixing it into the piece here. And you can you can mix both the noise scale, but you can barely tell between the two. But if you put it at 0.5, you can see that the noise scale is affecting it, and it kind of gives it, you know, an interesting look. You could put in whatever texture you want in here, and I really recommend to do that. So put in whatever texture and see what different effects you can get. And then one last thing that affects the texture is the texture coordinate. If you don't have UV maps, it may look a little funky. Right now it looks a little funky right here, looking at it from the top here. But you know, we could try different ones. Like if we put generated, see what that looks like. A little smoother, kind of the same. We'll put object. A little bit more compact, but just know that you can you can change the texture and change the coordinates and stuff like that. So let's take off the texture mix, and let's take off the noise, and we'll do this a couple more times just so you can see how it's done here. So let's do this second one. Let me go back to my asset browser. I'm gonna put in append here, and here's the Grease Monkey Toon Shader solo. We'll drag it on there. It's loading, and you can see that it's set, and we can set the light here. So here it is, me moving the light. You know, I'm gonna hold control and kind of set it in where I want it. There we go. And just know that since you're manually selecting where the light is hitting, just know that I guess it has to make sense with the rest of your scene if that's what you want. So yeah, we get the second color, you know, boom. Maybe we'll add in the second light. There it is, the highlight at the bottom. We'll pick it in here. I'll hold control. Maybe we'll make the highlight smaller. Maybe the second color can come in. There we go. And then we'll just copy these to the rest of them. What's this one called? Grease Monkey Toon Shader Solo 1. And we'll do it the same here. Solo 1. Boom. We have them all affected. Actually, I can see that the shader's not affecting it on the right side. So let's actually put the second highlight or second light on the other side. So I'm going to look at the other side till I can figure it out where it goes. There it is. Oh, and I messed with this one too. There it is. Now it's on both sides. Boom, the highlight's on there. And you can see the power this has. The second option that I added in is ambient occlusion. So if we put the distance up, you can see that there's like the ambient occlusion is being affected by the objects next to it. So let me change it to a weird color like this red color. And you can see that I have this nice gradient coming in from the ambient occlusion, and the reason it's coming on that side is because it's close to these objects. This is the distance here. So if I move these objects away, it'll actually be, you see how it's less harsh, less red, and the closer we get to another object, the more red it is. Let's actually activate it on this one too. Let's put it to red so you can really see it. We'll put the distance up. You can see that the creases here have the ambient occlusion. Sometimes this looks good, sometimes it doesn't. It's really up to your discretion. So there it is. You have the textures, you have ambient occlusion, you have two lights. Just know that these lights, the intensity can go up to 10, and 5 is the middle point that you should probably always set at. You can affect the highlights, the colors, everything above. And just for good measure, we'll just do this thruster here. Let's just drag it on there. Boom, thruster. We'll erase this. All right, so let's do the first light. I'm gonna hold control. There it is. Let's add in the second light. We'll put this to 5. We'll set that to the other side. There it is. Boom, both sides. You know, we can obviously change the colors. I'm just gonna desaturate these, and then we'll adjust the vibrancy after that. So let's put the vibrancy down to this. Let's put the shadow down to dark or black. Put this down a little bit here. You can see that it's blue because the ambient occlusion that it has is this blue color right here, the AO color. We'll change it to something silly. Maybe not silly, but maybe like a blue. Or we'll just pick the color that's this color here, you know. There we go. Or we could take the ambient occlusion off entirely. So there it is, on and off. And we can even put in the noise here, make it look like a brush metal. Maybe do it real slight. I'm holding shift while I'm changing all these there. It makes it a lot less harsh. Let's unisolate these, and you can see how we affected it. See, the ambient occlusion doesn't look too good here, so we'll take that one off. Maybe change this into blue or orange. We'll turn on the lights because the rest of these shaders are the normal shaders, so they are affected by light. So let's turn them back on. And you can see I can really have, you know, these colors are all going crazy. This is just more for a demonstration. You can see that I can get some gradients, some beautiful gradients with colors. You can mess around with the lights so they're not affected by lights. You can, you know, add texture. There's a lot you could do with this shader so far. So I hope you guys find it useful. Once again, the shader is free. You can download it in the description below. It's on my Gumroad. Just put, obviously, if you can donate some money in the Gumroad, I would appreciate it. But if you can't, that's totally okay. Just put 0 on there and hit I want this or download, and you should be able to get this shader. It's free. Enjoy. Take care. Have a good one. Goodbye.